Hello crafty friends, Julia here, and today I want to show you how you can create a super cute scene with critters. I am going to be using stamps by Purple Onion Designs and dies by Pretty Pink Posh and Little Inkers. So here are my critter stamps from Purple Onion Design, designed by Stacy Yakula, and I just love these little critters. They're just so adorable. I stamped them with my favorite things, black licorice ink, onto watercolor cardstock, and I'm using my Zig Clean Color Reel brush, that's a tongue twister, to color them in. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just putting down a tiny bit of color, because these colors are very intense and very rich, onto the critters, and then I'm using a blender pen to blend them out. I'm using one from Stampin' Up, but you can use the one from Dove, for example, just as well. It doesn't matter, they both behave the same. Whatever you have at hand, use that. You don't even need to use a blender pen necessarily, you can use just a regular brush. The reason I am using a blender pen is because I like the texture that I get in the coloring. It's not completely smooth, especially because I'm blending out using a slight circular motion. You actually get some texture, and I like that. I think it makes the critters look more interesting, it makes it look more like fur or feathers. That's why I like this very much. The trick with the blender pen is you should clean it off if you switch colors. I usually have a piece of scrap paper off to the side where I just scribble the blender pen off. So it's clean again when I use it. And I also feel it's important to know that when you go back into previously colored areas, you need to wait until they have dried, because otherwise you risk damaging the paper, pilling it up. I have talked about this extensively in other videos, so if you're on my blog, I usually have tags underneath my blog posts, and you can click the tag that says blender pen and you will see all the colorings that I've done using a blender pen, and I have quite a few videos on this topic as well. I've created this window using a tag by Pretty Pink Posh, and the actual panel I die cut with a tag by with a die by Little Inkers, because I wanted to have the stitching on the panel on the very outer edge. And I'm just masking this off because I will be stamping this floral stamp, also by Purple Onion Designs. And here I'm not stamping on watercolor paper, but on Basil Marshmallow Heavy cardstock. Cardstock. That's also a tongue twister. I'm having so many tongue twisters today, seriously. And you can see that here you cannot blend quite as easily as you could on the watercolor cardstock. You retain a relatively defined edge where you put down the color, especially with these dark colors. I didn't mind. I was just like, okay, that's creative license, that's okay. But if you mind that, then use watercolor cardstock for your card base. Just as a note, it doesn't, like, blending out watercolors doesn't work out on every paper, so maybe test it before you do this. The sentiment is also by Purple Onion Designs. They have added a few really nice big bold sentiments at the end of last year, and I'm really enjoying using those. Here is the back side of my panel. You can see that I'm using generous amounts of foam tape, but simply because I don't want this to sag. I want this to be nice and sturdy, so I've attached this to my panel. And I've already put down my critters, and now I'm adhering few sequins by Pretty Pink Posh in colors that match the overall color scheme that I'm using on the card for the flowers and the critters. And I just love how the critters peek out from these little windows that I've created. And of course I had to grab my Stardust gel pen and add a few dots around the sequins. Here's a close-up of that, and you can see the amazing sparkle that you get and a little bit of texture from this pen, and the stitching from the die by Little Inkers and Pretty Pink Posh. Here are my critters, and I think you can see the texture that I got from the blender pen quite nicely. And as I said, I personally like that a lot. That is something that I really enjoy, seeing the texture. Here's the entire card. And I hope you got inspired. I hope you're gonna give this a try. Thank you so much for watching, and I would love if you would subscribe. Thank you so much. Catch you again soon. Bye bye.